Good morning, those of you who are watching the live stream. Good morning, Anthony's fishy friends. Good morning, fishy on tank ticks. How's it going on this wonderful Sunday morning? This is Dave's Aquarium Thoughts. I'm Dave, and welcome to Sunday Morning with Dave. Today is going to be one of those insert jokes. Welcome to my TED Talks. My thoughts, my opinions. Just my opinions, my thoughts. That's all it is. I could be wrong, I could be right. Hello, my fish tanks aquatics. How's it going this morning? Sunday morning. Whoops, don't want to drop that, but Sunday morning. Today I'm going to be talking about what they don't tell you about the fish keeping hobby, which might be more of what you should know about the fish keeping hobby. But I'll wait a few moments to let a few more people stroll in. But anyways, when I do the stream, feel free to post your comments in the chat. If you're watching the rewatch, also feel free to leave comments on what your opinions are, what your thoughts are on each of these topics. I will have a lovely slideshow for you guys. So, like I said, welcome to my TED Talk. So, anyways, let's get started on this. This is what you should know about the fish keeping hobby, aka what they don't tell you. So basically, this is just some thoughts in my head. A lot of these are going to be connected to one of another. Some of them aren't, but we'll see how it goes. I have an idea of what I'm going to be talking about. I just don't know how I'm going to say it, so keep that in mind. Just like I normally do, things typically go well most of the times. Like I said, my thoughts, my opinions. I could be wrong. I could be right. I don't know. You might have a different opinion. Feel free to share that along as well. So anyways, let's go ahead and go into the first part of this presentation, this live stream, this lovely live stream on YouTube on a bright and early Sunday morning. 8 o'clock where I'm at. I don't know where you guys are, but it's definitely early here. Anyways, basically first thing I want to say, I'm going to start this off with saying, not everyone is an expert, especially online. I'm not the greatest expert out there, I know. What I do well is I do a lot of research, I do a lot of reading, and I take bits and pieces. But I know a lot of people, okay, let's see what so-and-so has to say on YouTube. Let's see what so-and-so has on Reddit to say. What about Facebook? But a lot of people got to realize not everyone is an expert. Even the experts could get things wrong too, so I'm sure I get a lot of things wrong, and any fish keeper gets a lot of things wrong. So just want to keep that in mind. So what you're hearing from me today doesn't mean it's my expert opinion. I'm not an expert by any means. I am more of a casual aquarium fish keeper, casual kind of person. So I just want to start off by saying that. So it's just a matter of just being careful on how you grab info online, how you disseminate that, and how you incorporate that into your fish keeping. So, there's a lot of things out there online. It's completely, in my opinion, there's a lot of things out there that's completely wrong. Although you will find a lot of good experts out there, especially on YouTube, and especially you can find it on Facebook, you can find it on Reddit, but not everyone out there is an expert. So you got to make sure you pick one that really, really is knowledgeable if you're going to really follow their advice to a T. But what I find is a lot of times is I typically listen to different voices out there and figure out my own way of doing things and figuring out, okay, what's going to be right for me, what's going to be right for my fish, what's going to be right for my setup. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind when you're looking for advice online, is not everyone is an expert. And that's one thing that a lot of people need to realize. Basically, if you go to like those forums as well, there's a lot of people just spouting, oh yeah, you can keep that betta. You can keep that betta in a 1 gallon bowl, fine, perfectly fine. Which, yeah, you can. Would I do it? No. It's just 1 gallon for a betta. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's going to be a lot of work. And in the end, is the fish going to be really happy? The other thing to keep in mind in the fish keeping hobby is patience is key, which is often overlooked in the fish keeping hobby. A lot of people get into this hobby and they just want to set up the tank, set up the aquarium, but then they realize, okay, I just want to do it. I don't want to wait for things. I'm just going to go ahead and throw fish in a glass jar of water, and it's going to be fine. But there's a lot of things that you have to wait for. First thing you have to wait for, of course, you do have to set up the aquarium, which takes time to get all the equipment, set it up how you want it to look. I mean, you can't just throw water. Well, you can just throw water in a tank, and hey, there's a tank of water right there. But if you actually want to have fish in there, you got to wait for the tank to be cycled. That way, you got proper filtration. That way, the fish can thrive and survive. More, hopefully, just thrive. Of course, you want them to survive, but you also want them to thrive as well. And that does take time. That does take time for that to cycle. And especially if you're planning, like, if you want to, like, a nice, beautiful planted tank, you're not going to be able to just throw plants in there and have it look magnificent. I mean, yeah, you can throw a lot of plants in there and make it look good, but the one problem with that is you're not going to let it. You're not going to have it. You're not going to let it grow into a beautiful landscape that you see in nature, because when you're throwing it in there, just pulling plants to make it look. That's how you're doing it. You're not letting nature take its place and make it look like a beautiful scape. So this is one thing you do need. You need patience, in cycling. You need patience in letting the plants grow in a planted aquarium if you want it to look beautiful. I mean, you can just throw plants in there. That's typically my method, but my method is not always best looking. Not always, anyways. Sometimes I just let nature take its course, and next thing you know, you have a wonderful looking tank. I do have I think I have like 10 of these, so hopefully I don't go through these too fast. Feel free to when I'm going through this, feel free to express your thoughts on the matter as well. But yeah, you do need a lot of patience in this, and of course, I think I have another slide in here that really ties into this topic right here. That you do need to have patience in order to have a perfectly great ecosystem in an aquarium. So you want it to let it take time, evolve into this wonderful ecosystem where your fish are thriving, your plants are thriving, and that way you have a wonderful thing to look at. Which kind of leads me into my next slide right here, which I think this is the one that basically this is where you definitely do need patience. Is that cycle does not mean mature. Tanks, like anything, tanks need experience as well. I mean, yeah, you have a cycle. It could be filtering the aquarium. But if you really want a really nice ecosystem going in your aquarium, it does take the time to actually, for everything to mature, the cycles to go through, to the, to let it mature. That way you get your little organisms growing in there. You have your food sources for all the other thing. But yeah, I'm just kind of reading chat right here. Hopefully you're okay, Anthony. But that's the one thing you do. I mean, this really ties into the previous slide, which is patience is key. You need to have the patience for the tank to cycle. A cycled tank, of course, will allow you to have the fish in there, but a mature aquarium will also allow you to actually have more fish. When you first set up the aquarium, you first get it cycled, you don't want to be just throwing your whole community in there. Because I know a lot of people think, okay, I have my tank cycled. I can have fish now. I can have it however I want it. It's going to look exactly how I want it 6 months from now. But one thing you do need to do is make sure that is also matured. That's where you really really want to see the tank to be at, is once it's mature. Me neither. I'm better now, but I definitely didn't have patience when I was younger. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people in the hobby, a lot of people get into this hobby. A lot of people still in the hobby. They really don't have the patience to let things evolve to the way it's going to be a nice ecosystem. They just want to have their tank set up and they just want to have their fish in there, and they just think, okay, yeah, it's gonna be perfect. But hold on, I'll be right back. I need to change some lighting situations in my living room, so I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. Sorry. The glare on the aquarium was kind of getting to me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point, Anthony. Is this involves with the sink? Not the sink. This involves the more on the marine side of things. The saltwater tanks, which you have the maturity of the tank, does come into big time with corals and saltwater. Yeah, different aquariums. You got the different aquariums, different types of aquariums do have different lengths of time to where they really are mature, and some things in that are more important than other times. I'm sure Anthony knows more on the saltwater, but so that's another thing you have to have patience in realizing. Okay, how long do I need to mature to really be successful in what I'm growing? So I guess in the salt water, yeah, the maturity does come into more play when you're talking about corals. And also, if you're looking at like some other fish as well, I know if you have like pandagars like I do, in order to have those, you do need a mature kind of ecosystem going, where that way they have stuff to feed on. Same thing autosinkless. You really don't want to throw autosinkless or pandagara into a brand new aquarium because you're gonna throw them in there and they're really not gonna have anything to feed on other than what you feed them, and you could have limited success with that as well. So different things do require different levels of maturity. Some fish, yeah, you can throw it into just a cycled aquarium. Other fish, you will need a more mature aquarium setup, like Anthony says in corals, as well as like some certain fish, like autocinklus. You're talking about pretty much all like the algae eater kind of things. You really don't really need to throw an algae eater right away. Excuse me here for 1 second here. Sorry about that. Still early for me, so. But yeah, different kind of setups do need different levels of maturity. Different types of fish are even going to need a different level of maturity as well. And that's where you do need the patience. I mean, yeah, I have a Pangara's and the Swarty breeder. I love them. I really like seeing them just swim around, but no, you can't really just throw those. You can't really just get those and throw them in just a cycle tank. Can it be done? Yes. Is it easy to get done when it's like that? No. You really want these systems to mature. Now, of course, in order for them to mature, yeah, you're gonna need fish in there. You're gonna need this and that, but that's where you gotta find your fish that you want to actually create that mature tank, and that does take time. Yeah. Maturity of a tank also does allow you to skip feedings, especially with mini nanofish. They eat what's in the tank. Yeah, it's pretty much similar to how like autocinklus and panagaros and other garas are, because basically that's primarily what they go after, unless you really feed them well. But they're more apt to actually eat that stuff that's from a mature tank. All the uh, forget the term for it, offwash. I don't know. I'm probably killing that word. All like the biofilms and all that. They need that biofilm to survive, and that's what they primarily try to feed off of. I have panagaras in there. You can just see them swimming all over the place and just kind of just with their little lips eating the biofilm. and that does come with the maturity of the tank, where you get that biofilm to develop. So that's one thing you do need to take a look at when you're actually setting up these aquariums, especially for beginners. You need to realize, okay, yeah, you can have fish in a perfectly cycled tank, but for things to really thrive, you're looking at getting that mature tank going, which does take patience. Patience is key on that. And here's another lovely thing. I know a lot of people out there are well familiar with the multi-tank syndrome. This is what I'm calling community tank syndrome, which is pretty much also like Pokemon fish syndrome, fish collecting syndrome, where you got to catch them all. You set up your tank. You have an idea. Okay, I'm just gonna have this fish in there. That's all I'm gonna have in there. Then all of a sudden you're at the fish club meeting. You're at the fish store, and all of a sudden you see this fish. You see this fish there, and all of a sudden you're like, I need that fish. I need that fish. Which, like, then like, okay, I don't have a tank for it. I'm just gonna buy it. I'm gonna throw it in with the other fish I have. Next thing you know it, weeks later, all of a sudden you have this community going where you only wanted a species tank, but now that species tank is turning into a community. And this community tank syndrome also does tie into multi-tank syndrome, because you end up going to the fish store, you end up seeing the fish. No, now I need a new tank, and then the next thing you know, you have 30 tanks. This is pretty much where it all starts, where you just see all these fish that you just got to catch them all, you know. I'm guilty of that a few times, where I want to set up like a pistogramma tank, and that's all I want to have in there. Next thing you know, I have some tetras in there. I have an African butterfly fish in there, and all of a sudden you just have all these other fish in there where you originally only wanted that one species tank. And this is one part of the hobby that you kind of have to be careful. You do really need to be careful, because do you want to think? Do you really want just a species or community? Let's see. I think it comes more from YouTube. Look how many they have. Yeah, there's a lot of fish out there, a lot of different fish out there, and all of a sudden you just see this one that you really want. And it's like, no, I gotta have that. I gotta have that. No, I'm just gonna put in that epistogramma pair that I wanted to breed. Now all of a sudden you really can't breed because you have everything else going after those eggs and all these little fries. Yeah, I think social media does tie into that as well. Because you're visiting the social media sites, you see all these pictures, all these videos of all these beautiful, amazing fish. And I'm like, no, I want that fish too. But you know what? I don't have multiple tanks. I don't have room for multiple tanks. I don't have the time to take care of all these tanks. So I'm like, I'm just going to throw them all in this 40-gallon breeder. And next you know, you have like a sea of rainbow colored fish in there. And hopefully when you do that, hopefully when you do this, when you fall victim to this community tank syndrome, you actually do the research and get fish that do get along together. I know I have in my 20-gallon long right there, I have African butterfly fish. It's actually doing well with all the other fish in there. I have endlers in there. Doesn't touch them. I have three baby endler fry in there. Hasn't touched them. Still hasn't touched them in the last 3 days. We'll see how that goes. But because you don't want that one fish eating the other fish in there. You don't want like fin nippers going after certain fish. You know, that's another thing that the African butterfly fish falls victim to, is fin nippers, because they have these dangling things there. So Anthony's like, sounds right. I had 6 tanks within 4 months. Yeah, this is exactly how you fall victim to multi-tank syndrome, because you fall victim to community tank syndrome first, or fish collecting syndrome. I haven't really got the perfect term for this yet, but I mean, I think this is where it all starts. You do start with your first aquarium, and you get all these beautiful fish in there that you wanted. You wanted to keep them, and next thing you know, you see all these other amazing, beautiful fish. You know, I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. And next thing you know, you're gonna have fish tanks all over the house because you just want to start collecting all these different fish, which is great. But the one problem is with that is you do need the time to take care of that aquarium over there, that aquarium over there, that aquarium over there, there, and there. Which a lot of times you could fall victim to actually not taking care of any of them. But that's one thing. This is one thing that people don't realize that I don't hear talked about much. I always hear multiple tank syndrome, but where exactly does that multiple tank syndrome start at? It starts because you want to have that fish, that fish, and this fish. You're not just looking at another tank. It's like no, because you want that other tank to have another fish, a different type of fish, where you have to collect different species from all over the place. And this is where I think it starts from. Once again, my opinion, my thought on the matter. just a little thing that was just kind of rolling around in my head. I'm sure other people probably thought of it too. I'm probably not that original in that thought, but the big one is going into customers' homes, goldfish with tropical fish with a heater. Yep. That is the part where hopefully when you do fall victim to this is that you do the research and realize what can go together with what kind of fish. But you really don't want to have a cold water fish going in with a warm water fish. Can it be done? Yes. Should it be done? I don't know. Will it take work to pull off? Yes. But yeah, you're gonna want to end up buying that other tank to put those goldfish in, or tropical fish, whichever one you had first. Let's see, Anthony's first tank. I had goldfish with glowfish. We all start somewhere. Yeah, we do. We all start somewhere, and it's just a matter of just getting to the point where you're making sure that you're getting to a point where you can actually research all this information, find the correct experts online, and like me. Excuse me. I should probably call it that way, but so yeah, that's one thing you want to do when you do fall. Making sure you're doing the proper research, making sure all these different fish do fall within the same temperature range. Yeah, a lot of fish they do have some kind of temperature range that kind of commingle. Fishy on Tank Dicks is going to try a pea puffer with axolotl. How would that work out? But yeah, you got to do your research. And a lot of things with it as well is sometimes you do need to experiment. I do a lot of experimenting. I do a lot of experimental projects in the fish keeping hobby. I try this, I try that. I have some experiments that work great. I have some experience that just totally flop. I'll probably do a video on that at some point in the future, explaining which ones flopped, which ones didn't. So stay tuned to that. It wouldn't, but everyone's so creative. Yeah. Certain things will never work out no matter how much you experiment. I really don't know much about pea puffers or axolotls. In my head, thinking about the pair, I don't think they will. I would think that either the pea puffers are going to be picking at the axolotls or the axolotls are going to munch on the pea puffers. Depends on how fast each other is. You're probably going to have a situation where the pea puffer is picking on the axolotl and the axolotl is munching on the pea puffers. Yeah, my fish tank's aquatic. This is exactly it. This is exactly it. I always say what works for me may not work for you. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. you could actually probably have in some weird way where the pea puffers might actually work with axolotls somehow. Likeliness of it, I don't know. I don't know much about each one. It's like you could have a tank full of piranha with a goldfish living happily, and the piranhas might not go after the goldfish. That could perfectly happen. Likeliness of that happening, probably not, but it could work. It really depends on the fish's personalities and how well you're feeding them and all like that. And I think this will be very this would actually tie into another slide that's coming up eventually. I think that actually is the last slide, which pretty much is what works for me is not going to work for you. What works for you is not going to work for me. Having a saltwater tank is not going to work for me. I just don't have it. I've never done it, so right off the bat, right there, I'll be learning something new. And right now, I really don't have time to learn for anything new. But but it's all about getting to that situation where you're more likely to have success. You really don't want to experiment too far ranges. You kind of want to stay close where you could actually have some sort of success. You don't want to have failure after failure after failure, and then you just get discouraged, and next thing you know it, you're throwing all your tanks out the window. Hopefully not out the window. Hopefully at least giving them away to someone who could use them or properly disposing of them. All right. Next slide is a fish keeper wears many hats, which is the case. I know a lot of you have probably heard the saying, you really don't keep fish, you really keep water. Keeping fish, being a fish keeper is, you're pretty much, yeah, exactly my fish tanks aquatics. Learning your water parameters. Learning your water parameters is key. Is when you're a fish keeper, you have to be a water scientist. You have to be a veterinarian. You have to be this. You have to be that. You're not just keeping fish. You're their dietitian. You're their veterinarian. You're making sure that their water's clean. You're being that water technicians where you are learning your water parameters. Hopefully you're not just kind of just putting fish in a glass box of water and just hoping things just succeed. You have to have the water parameters perfect for it. And I'm not just talking about nitrates, ammonia, nitrites. I'm also talking about your temperatures, your aeration. Some fish are going to be fine with little aeration. Others do need more aeration. If you have like a betta, which has a labyrinth organs, that could go up to the top of the water to breathe oxygen. But that doesn't mean that you could just let it go out the window at all either, because you do still want to have it be happy in the water, not just kind of laying at the top. The fish are the a-holes that ruin my water. How dare they ruin your water, Anthony? Oh, yeah. Actually found that my female pea puffer tortured every fish. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Fishy on Tank Tick says, I actually found that my female pea puffer tortured every fish until I put her with my Florida flag fish pair. They got along, actually. I moved my flag fish around to combat the algae problem. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. You're also a psychologist in the fish as a fish keeper as well. Learning, okay, each fish has personalities. Each fish also do have different personalities based on the environment around them. Like with certain fish, if you have like a parrotfish, you can have this one a-hole fish over here attacking this fish over here. But then all of a sudden you add more of those fish, and next thing you know, that a-hole fish calms down because it doesn't really, A, it doesn't know where it's going, and B, you kind of have more fish to transverse the aggression, or just kind of just tone down the aggression from that one a-hole fish. Which I'm guessing that's probably what happened with your pea puffer. The Florida flagfish were probably keeping her in check, and she was probably less. She's probably a little bit more skittish around them. Just in her mind, she's probably like, okay, I want to be more calmer now. I don't want these flagfish going after me. That's just a guess. That's just I'm trying to get into your pea puffer's little brain there. Some have multiple personalities. Yeah, I used to have my 20-gallon long. I have an African butterfly fish. I used to have two in there, which I've done that in the past, where the two in there they got along well. They used to be social around the aquarium. I had two in there. They lived fine in the 20-gallon long together. But then I got two in this one right here. One was that social one where it's going all around. The other one was just hiding all the time. So I'm like, no, so I had to change that situation because that one personality on that one fish was just not conducive to a successful thriving aquarium. So I ended up rehoming that one, but I still have one in there. Yeah, and you do have a situation where you have alphas. You have basically one's kind of keeping things in check, which is it's the psychology of the fish that's in each tank. Which is one thing as a fish keeper you do have to. That's one thing that's overlooked is you have to think, okay, how are they getting along? What's the psyche of these fish? Because you do have a situation where even with non-aggressive fish, I found that you can have that one fish that decides, okay, no, I just want to be aggressive. I want to go after these. So you have to be the psychologist. How are you going to fix that fish? Are you going to rehome it, or are you going to fix the problem by seeing like maybe adding more plants? Are you going to add different fish to keep that fish in check? So basically, yeah, as a fish keeper, you're wearing many different hats. Psychology, you have to learn fish psychology. You have to learn your water science. You have to learn veterinarian skills of treating the fish when they get sick. So it's not just putting fish in a glass box and hey, okay, they're gonna be great. No, you have to do many things to keep that ecosystem alive and thriving. So you have to learn a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and that. And one thing you don't have, not a lot of people have, is veterinarians that take care of aquatic animals. I did interview one at a pet expo, but they do exist. I know Dan's Fish talks about them all the time. Which my first experience knowing they existed was at that pet expo, which I was surprised. But a lot of times in the hobby is you are that fish's veterinarian. And here's another topic that is really not talked about. Everyone says it's always cheaper to do it yourself. In my experience, it's not. Not always. It can be. I'm not saying it's not. It can't be. It can, but it isn't always cheaper. I've had these do-it-yourself projects before, where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna build myself a filter. Next thing you know, I get done. I look into how much it costs. I'm like, oh crap! I should have just bought a filter, or I should have just did this. The one thing the one thing that you do get out of DIY all the time is you get your own custom whatever you're building. You get your own custom filter. You get your filter how you want it, but it isn't always cheaper. As everyone else fell into the trap where you're making something DIY and you come to the realization at the end it would have been just cheaper to just buy your own pre-built item that you're trying to build yourself. Yeah, that too, Fish on. It's the personal satisfaction of accomplishing the project. That too. Primarily, you're getting the satisfaction that you accomplish something, and you also get something that's custom built to your needs. You get the input. You get the input on how you want it set up, how you want it to work. You're not just relying on CCAM or Fluval to decide how they want it to work for you. You're deciding for yourself how you want it to work for yourself. But it's not always cheaper. I know a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, do it yourself. It's cheaper." It is not always cheaper. It can be cheaper though. Let's see. Anthony says, was just going to say that I know someone who will only buy sumps, and he likes to make mine based on the tank. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, yeah, you can find cheaper options out there sometimes. You could buy cheaper stuff, but if you want it to work a certain way, then do it yourself is the only way to go. Unless you're contacting these companies and saying, okay, I want this filter and this is how I want it to work. Just make it for me. But a lot of people in this do it yourself kind of sense, they're always doing it in the sense of it is going to be cheaper, which is not always the case. Now, this is not saying that do it yourself is bad. I love do it yourself. Do it yourself is awesome. That way you get it built to how you want it. It is also great when it is cheaper, but it is not always cheaper. I know when I built these plant boxes, I love how they came out. I love that how custom they are for me. But pricing that stuff out, pricing out on stuff, I would have ended up spending like $40 per tank. Where I don't think I even spent 30 on my project for both tanks, and that is including a couple tools to make it. I've already had those tools, which I probably already do. It would have been much cheaper. But do it yourself can be cheaper, but it is not always cheaper. But in the end, when you do it yourself, you are building that custom piece for yourself, and you do get the satisfaction that, yeah, this is what I did it, and I love it. unless it becomes a complete and utter failure, like a few of my do-it-yourself projects were. But yeah, it's not always cheaper. It is great to do it yourself, but it is not always cheaper like a lot of people think that it is. Which kind of leads me to my next step. Did I get the right slide? Oh, okay. There we go. Fish keeping can be expensive. This, of course, is probably more of those one things that you all know. Fish keeping is expensive. You're buying that expensive glass box. You're buying those expensive fishies. Oh, this expensive fish. Those expensive fish. It's amazing how much you can pay for some of those fishes out there. And you're buying the filters, you're buying this, you're buying that, and then you see that tool or equipment that, oh, I need to try that in my aquarium. I need to try it. And you're spending money on that. You're spending money. Okay, oh, I need that fish now, so I need a whole new tank. Then there's convenience. I cut wood and pre-injury. Now it's sitting there waiting for me to build a stand. Oh yeah, I built the stand that I had my Babuna tank on. I built that myself. That was a wonderful experience. Didn't come out completely perfectly, but I found out when I did build that stand, it probably would have been cheaper for me to build my own, buy one instead of build one. But that was a lot of trial and error. I made a few mistakes, which cost me more money. Which in this hobby, you end up experimenting. You end up buying things that you eventually don't need. You end up buying food after food after food, and next thing you know, you have more fish food than you have person food. But yeah, there's a lot of convenience in buying your own things. But I think my favorite stand was I think my favorite stand I built. It was a do-it-yourself one, which was with cinder blocks. If you look in my early videos, it was the one on my 60 gallon I had when I lived in my old place, which was the black one. You might not realize it looking in the videos, but that was made out of cinder blocks and wood. I set up the cinder blocks. I put wood pieces on there to kind of stabilize it, and then I painted the cinder blocks black to make it look nicer. So I don't know if you guys realize that one of my first aquarium stands on this video, one of my earlier videos, you'll see it, the black one, that was made out of cinder blocks. That was probably my favorite stand I made. The wood one I had with my babunas, that was a great experience. I still do like my cinder block stand better. And that's the other thing when you're doing these things in the fish keeping, even if it's expensive, even if you do it yourself, you just fall in love with something like that. You get that, especially when you're doing it yourself. It might not always be the cheapest solution, but sometimes you get that satisfaction. Okay, yeah, I built that, and it came out great. But one thing I have is problems with is buying things, which adds in the fact that yeah, fish keeping can be expensive. I see different fish foods. I'm like, no, I want to try that fish food. I want to try this fish, that fish food, this fish food, and I end up with like a lot of different fish foods, which is how I ended up with a pepper mill filled with a variety of different fish foods, which works great because the fish gets variety. And that all started from having all these different fish foods that I bought, which meant I spent money on. Yeah. So hopefully your injury gets better, Anthony. That way you could build that stand. Hopefully I'll be able to see it one of these days. That'd be a good thing to. I'd love to see how it turns out. Mm. Yeah, I need to drink something. And that's the one thing I forget about streaming is if I talk too long, my voice gets ragged. So anyways, but yeah, fish can be expensive. Do it yourself is not always cheap. All the foods. Yep. All the foods. Yep. I got. Let's see. I got full of bug bites. I got other blackworm. I got blackworm dry foods. I got that as well. I got all the cichlid foods from when I had the Mabunas. I have algae wafers. I have this. If you could think of a food, I probably have it. I have those dehydrated shrimps. I have those. I might have to try those dehydrated shrimps for my African butterfly fish. He'll probably love that one. But yeah, you end up with all the foods. You just see you just find all these foods out there. You listen to these experts on social medias. Oh, you gotta buy this food. It's excellent. It's better than that food. You gotta buy this food. I'm like, do you? Do you really? But not in the end. As a fish keeper, you're seeing all these foods. I'm like, yeah, I want to try that fish food out. I want to see how if my fish would like it better. Although personally, I've really never came into a situation where I didn't have fish that did not eat any food that I threw in there. Oxalotls love blackworms. Don't ask me how I know. uh, I don't know. I don't know. It's axolotls are illegal in places. Voice to text. Text to voice. Text to speech. That's really something I really do want to set up. That way I can just type in what I want to speak. That'd be much easier for me. But no, I like talking. I could talk probably faster than I could type. But I do want to set that up eventually. We're gonna have like a little AI robot speaking on the stream. I got a notification for KG Tropicals about the video that they just released today, and they were talking about cheap fish that you could buy for the fish keeping hobby. Yeah, cheap fish can be good too. They can be beautiful as well. This is a last minute slide that I added. You don't need to break the bank to find this beautiful fish out there. You don't have to spend all this money to have a beautiful fish tank. You could buy beautiful guppies. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars for a guppy pair. Yeah, you can spend hundreds of dollars for a guppy pair, but in this hobby, you don't need to. That's the beautiful thing about this hobby as well, is you could buy your dollar fishes or you could buy your $300 fishes. neither are wrong. Neither are wrong. Any which way you go. There's beautiful zebra danios. I was at Nolan's Aquariums, which is a fish store near me in Santa Ana, California. I go in there. I see these zebra danios in there. Oh, they're beautiful. There's a lot of yellows. I've never seen them with yellow in them. Whenever I saw zebra danios, they were always gray and silver. I'm like, that's just a plain silver fish. But no, they could be some beautiful fish out there. A lot of underrated fish that are actually cheap. You don't have to spend a fortune on them. The one fish I just realized was underrated. If you subscribe to my Instagram, you'll see the post where I posted a picture of my Congo tetras in there. Oh, I didn't realize how beautiful they could be. Let me see if I could do this here. Give me a second here. There's a lot of cheap fish out there too that are beautiful, and you don't have to break the bank just to get them. Let me see here. Let me see if I can do this. Let me find my let me find my picture I posted on. Oh, here it is. It's very underrated fish, and you really don't need to break the bank to actually buy these beautiful fish. Um, so yeah. Let me see if I could. Let me share my screen here. Where's my? Oh, here it is. You don't have to break the bank just to buy these beautiful fish. Beautiful fish to actually interact beautifully in the aquarium. Yes, you can if you want to buy the beautiful, expensive fish. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Me, I'm more on a budget. I could probably never afford a $300 fish. I think the max my budget is for a fish is like $30. Yeah, I love those. Yeah, fishy on tank ticks. Yeah, I love those Conga tetras. I'm really glad I went with them when I decided to change up my 40-gallon breeder up here. I'm glad I went with them. They're in my opinion underrated. I really never knew the colors that really shone once you had them. That's the one thing when you walk into a fish store. There's 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 two ways of seeing fish in the fish store. You have those fish in there that aren't colored up. They're not colored up how they will once they get into your mature fish tank at home. Once they're in that mature fish tank, oh, they're beautiful. But you look at them in the fish store, and they're like, really? Who buys these fish? But then you buy them, and all of a sudden, like, oh, wow. Why didn't I buy these a long time ago? And then you have this fish. I find this a lot of times in the redfish. You see those like cherry barbs and like in the fish store, they're like magnificently red and all that. Even if your fish tank, like, really? Why aren't they that red? But then you don't realize in the fish store sometimes they have like the lighting set up in red more. Uh, fish and tank ticks. I'm assuming that's talking about Conga tetras that they bought four and couldn't find any for 2 years. Then one day lost a female, and then the males died. Yeah. When I bought them, I bought seven. I went in Nolan's Aquarium looking for them. I'm like, hey, do you have Conga tetras? I want seven of them. Uh, and that's the other thing you got to realize in the fish aquarium hobby as well. Hey, Jay Oliver's Guppies and Aquatics. I hope you're having a great day as well. Hopefully it's awesome. But that's one thing a lot of people. This should have been another slide. This should have been another slide. I think I had in my head to put it in here, but this is another thing that's not often talked about. This is what they don't tell you is when you're keeping fish. There's certain fish where, in order to get those beautiful colors and those great beautiful colors that you see in pictures online, is you do need a good balance of males and females. If you don't have that good, if you have all males, you might get some colors out of them. But if you really, really, really want them to color up, you need to have some females in there as well. I'm not just talking just for you're not really doing that just for breeding. But what you want to do is you want to bring out those colors in the males. And the only way to do that sometimes is to throw those females in there. I have 2 males in this 40-gallon, the Congo Tetras. I have 2 males and 5 females. When I bought them, I just told Nolan, hey, no, give me a good mix of genders, preferably more females than males. He's like, yeah, okay, I think there's a mix of them in here. I ended up with 2 males, which is fine. Both of them beautifully coloring up. Hey, Vinaski, how's it going? But yeah, that's another thing that you're really not seeing in the hobby talked about is when you're buying fish to get those colors, you do need a mix of females and males sometimes, and they will color up differently. If you have all males, you can see all the colors and all that as well. But you throw some females in there, and sometimes you get these stunning colors out of them that they don't have when you're just keeping them all male or whatnot. And if you buy all females, most likely you're not going to have color for fish. It's just the fact of the way nature is. I'm not saying that's how it is all the time, but most like in the fish keeping hobby, most of the time it's the males that are the colorful ones. Hey George, how's it going? Good morning, Aqua Bowls. Yeah, I'm up early too, but that's from work. I'm normally up early, but in order to get those colors, you do need a mix. Another slide I just realized I wanted in there is you're not going to always get those beautiful colors that you see online. So you don't go hunting for it. Don't try chasing those colors. You kind of have to make it work naturally. One thing to keep in mind when you're looking online is some of those pictures are doctored. They're photoshopped to bring out the colors more. By the way, the picture I showed you of the Congo Tetras, that was not filtered. I probably could have added some filters to that where it looks more magnificent, but I didn't add filters to that one. But yeah, I think I'm going off topic on this one. But yeah, cheap fish, they could be good too. They could be beautiful. They could be wonderful. They could have wonderful personalities. Bettas, you could buy some beautiful bettas that just are cheap but come out magnificent. You could buy those cheap $5 bettas, and they could be beautiful in your fish tank. Which is another thing, like I was saying, you see them at the fish store, and they're like, that doesn't really look that great. But once you get them home in your aquarium, they just turn out magnificently beautiful. I know a lot of times with bettas too, you're looking at it in the store, you're looking at a little tiny cup. At a lot of places, a lot of places have been starting to put them in their own individual tanks. But anyways, I hope everyone's having a great morning. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the stream. If you are enjoying the stream, make sure you hit that like. I know everyone that's been responding in this chat has been subscribers, because I did set this one as a subscriber only chat. This one is primarily because it's more for discussion, not more as like I did last week, was more of a kind of game. But anyways, excuse me. Next, in the aquarium, in the fish keeping hobby, you will find yourself chasing a white rabbit. You'll be trying to find that elusive fish. You'll be trying to you're going to try to chase a certain look for your aquarium. But let me tell you this, yeah, you're not always going to reach it. Can you reach it? Yes. Will it take work? Yes. Can you luck into it? Yes. But one thing you want to do is you do want to make reasonable goals. You don't always want to be chasing zero nitrates. I know some people in some forums are like, you have to have zero nitrates. Not always going to work out. Can it work out? Yes. Heavily planted tank, yeah, you could reach that zero nitrates. Thanks, Jay Olivers. But yeah, you'll find a lot of times you will be chasing that white rabbit. You'll be trying to find that one certain goal that you want to achieve. You want to have that magnificent looking fish like you see in the pictures that are photoshopped, but you want to see it in person where it's not photoshopped, but you want to see it how it is photoshopped. You'll end up wanting to chase that white rabbit, which is not always reasonable. So you do want to make some sort of reasonable goals. Is it good to have kind of goals that are a little bit unreasonable? Yes. Hopefully someday you could reach that, but don't get too disappointed when you don't reach that goal. So yeah, you will end up finding a way to chase that white rabbit, which hopefully you find yourself catching that white rabbit more than not. I've chased that white rabbit plenty of times where I want something to work, and I'm like, okay, is this going to work? How do I make it work? And in the end, it just comes a complete and utter failure, which is fine. In the fish keeping hobby, you will have those certain things that will not work for you, like you see them working for other people. But keep in mind, what works for them is not necessarily going to work for you. Just as much as what works for you is not going to work for them, which is one thing. Goes back to my first slide. Not everyone's an expert online or in any kind of place you see it, because sometimes what works for them is not going to work for you. Keeping fish, there's a lot of different ways to go about, which actually I'm kind of speaking ahead of turn here, but there's lots of ways to actually keep fish, a lot of different things to do, which while I'm speaking on this topic, I'll probably get more back to this white rabbit thing too when I speak of this, is there are more than one way to do things. There's a lot of different paths you could take, especially in how you're keeping fish, what kind of fish you're keeping. Are you gonna keep saltwater fish? Are you gonna keep freshwater fish? What about brackish? Are you gonna keep brackish? Are you gonna breed? Are you gonna be a breeder? Are you just using for just a community tank, just for the show? Do you want this beautifully aquascape view? There's many things, many ways to do things, many types, many ways to filter your tank. Or you can have a filter on your tank. No filter tanks do work. It's just a matter, okay, how are you going to get it to work? Which way are you going to go about reaching that goal? Are you going to have the hang on the back? Are you going to have the canister filter? Are you going to have the hang on the back canister filter? Many ways that end up with the same solution. How are you going to feed your plants? Are you going to dose? Are you just going to let the fish waste feed your plants? There's a lot of many right ways to do things, and a lot of those right ways to do things are going to be the wrong way for you. Are you going to be able to do those things that are right for some people? Are you going to be able to do it how they do it to have a successful tank? Which a lot of things. One thing that's overlooked is why it works for them is how they do things. Where you might see that, okay, I'm going to do that too, and you try it, but you do that one thing differently. You do that one thing differently, and that one thing different, that one small minute thing that you do differently, just kind of takes that right way and makes it the wrong way, where it doesn't work for you. Which it's you had the right intentions. It probably was the right way, but for some reason it didn't work for you, whether it be how your water is. Maybe it's a situation where you have hard water and they have soft water. It's like when I was watching Aquaball's video the other day. I was watching his video when he bought those sponge filters with the pipe that kind of curves from Aquarium Co-op, where they weren't working for him. They weren't working for him. I mean, it probably was a great product for, say, some people, but they weren't working for aqua balls because they were clogging because he had hard water. Where Corey at Aquarium Co-op, they probably work beautiful for him because he probably has, up in Washington, he has the soft water, which that soft water doesn't have as much calcium in it, where it doesn't clog those tiny little holes as much as, say, George over in where he has hard water. I have hard water too, so I have hard water just like he does. See, so that's the right way to do it on the sponge filters. But no, for me, it's not going to work because I have different water. So that way, it's not going to work for me because just my water's different. It has different levels of different minerals. I mean, George might have hard water where he is. I have hard water here, and even that could be the slightest enough change where things might work for him fine, but it's not going to work for me. And even though we both have hard water, it's just the chemical makeup. There's more than one way to do things, just like a lot of ways. One way of dechlorinating water, you can find this online, is you can take your water, you can let it sit outside for a week, and it's dechlorinated. But the problem is some water districts, they use a different system. They use chloramines, which don't evaporate as easily as, say, just chlorine. Which, yeah, that's letting the water sit out might work for some people, but other people over here that have chloramine in their system is not going to work for, because that chloramine doesn't break down as easy as chlorine in these people's. So yeah, there's definitely more than one way to do things, more than one right way to do things. And what is right doesn't always mean it's wrong. And yeah, I'm gonna go too far on that one, so I'm gonna quit there. But yeah, the fish keeping hobby, there's a lot of things, a lot of different things, a lot of things that are basically a lot of different things that don't get talked much about. And you have all these other things that are talked about out there, which actually are kind of not perfect. Not everything out there is perfect. Even the most commonly talked about things, they don't apply to everyone. A lot of ways, like what works for some people aren't going to work for others. That's just how it boils down to. But yeah, that was my TED Talk for the day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I'll probably be streaming here on Sundays at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So I'll probably be sticking to this time slot primarily because it works for me. I'm off Sundays. I'm up early now. Work kind of conditioned me to being up this early, so I'm up this early, just out of habit. I want to thank everyone for joining me this morning. Everyone watching, everyone participating in the chat. Hopefully those that haven't been chatting, hopefully they're subscribed. Hopefully you do hit that subscribe button. Hopefully those who came in late, hopefully you watched the rewatch. I am trying to get my watch hours up. So kind of eventually do want to get to a point where I could at least kind of have some money coming into this. That way it does support me in offering more things, more video opportunities. That way I could put into the aquarium, not just to put in my pocket. But putting some in my pocket would be nice too. But anyways, I just want to say thanks to everyone out there. Thanks for subscribing, those who have, and have a great day. And I'll talk to you next week, as well as any videos I might post this week. I don't know if I have anything planned for this week, but yeah, you could do it. Yeah, I could do it. You could do it too, George. Anyways, I hope everyone has a great day, and thanks for watching.